I am Thobani Mnyandu. I am an attorney, admitted and practicing as such, at a law firm named Mnyandu and Sedumedi Attorneys, that is abbreviated to MNS Attorneys. Jurisdictions across the African continent often have a myriad of various statutes that have put into place compliance measures to regulate how construction is done. The most notable ones are, or relate to, rather, the items that should be in place prior to construction beginning. Now, that relates to, amongst others, the measures that companies take as employers when instituting construction to lessen the bad or neutral, as well as negative effects of whatever gases that may be released during a construction project. The most important thing that we advise clients of is just the applicability of the legal framework, which, as we say, is applicable across many jurisdictions in Africa. Once there is a notification of what is applicable, the client is able to create a checklist so that when they begin construction, there is certainty on what it is that must be complied with. There is never going to be a mechanism in contracting that will permit an employer and or a contractor to contract for each and every possible dispute. However, looking at how broad the issue of construction engineering law disputes are, it is important we advise our clients, as and when contracts are concluded, to have a dispute adjudication board that comprises of different disciplines. To illustrate this, we mean that when we begin construction works on site, our contract should provide for an arbiter who will be looking at different disputes. Now, those arbiters can be on an ad hoc basis, but the list would have been prepared up front, and it would be people that have expertise in construction itself, being either a QS, quantity surveyor, an architect, an engineer, as well as somebody who is experienced in the application of the principles of law, that being an attorney or an advocate, such that once a dispute has arisen, you can pick as the parties from that bag who is the most suitable person to deal with whatever dispute. This will lessen the time it will take to resolve the dispute, because the subject matter expert will be able to get onto the dispute quite quickly and be able to find a viable resolution to the dispute, even if it may not favor one of the parties. A fundamental argument that is raised by many in the construction and engineering law sector is the fact that contracting in this area is simply about transferring and managing risk. So if parties are able to agree on where exactly the risk should sit, they will take appropriate measures in order to cover for the eventuality of a particular risk materializing or coming into play or not coming into play. This affects, amongst other things, and most critically, the pricing of a contract. And it is what eventually, if not taken care of, causes disputes between parties. So if the risk allocation is done on a proper basis that takes into account which party ought to be responsible for which risk, that ensures, together with, of course, the management of all stakeholders, that will ensure that the project is able to run smoothly on whatever form of contract that is concluded. Jurisdictions across the African continent have what we refer to as construction regulations. Those construction regulations, the latest ones in South Africa at least, having been passed in 2014, they ensure the bare minimum measurements that must be in place prior to an employer beginning with construction works on site, in order to safeguard, amongst others, the interests of the employees working on site, as well as those that are third parties either accessing the site or coming into contact with the site from time to time. When one considers the fact that one of the United Nations developmental goals is actually sustainability, it's important to have a proper understanding and acceptance of who are the stakeholders in respect of each construction project that is meant to be proceeded with. So we advise our clients to actually establish a sustainability matrix, looking at what kind of works are going to be undertaken, what those works are capable of doing, and what it is that needs to be done in order to make sure that there is the protection of the environment and that the project itself is sustainable, of course, coexisting with other projects on site, as well as being able to outlive the worst threat. Viewers are able to access our website, and the page can be found at www.mnsattorneys.co.za.